There are moments in life when just 1 second is enough to change everything forever. For Daniel Kowalski, that moment came on a warm Thursday morning in San Diego, when, as he was wiping grease from his calloused hands, he heard the engine of a luxury car purr outside his old garage. The sound was smooth, expensive, and completely out of place in the working-class neighborhood he had been tied to his entire life. For Sienna Donovan, the 19-year-old girl who had lost 11 years of her youth to a wheelchair, the moment that changed everything arrived quietly. It was the strange sensation of her foot touching the ground without pain, for the first time since the fateful accident when she was only 8 years old. No applause, no fireworks, just a trembling breath, and something she had once believed would never happen. But before the miracle appeared, there had been tragedy. There had been despair. There had been countless sleepless nights when one wonders whether the kindness of an ordinary person could possibly stand against a cold, unyielding system, one where millions of dollars had already proven powerless. This is the story of a single father living on the margins of society, of a female billionaire carrying the guilt of a mother, and of a brave young girl who had grown accustomed to being told, "Accept your fate." This is the story of how a poor mechanic accomplished something that money, fame, and luxurious clinics could never buy. And it all began with a very simple question. Is your brace too tight? But before that question was ever asked, let me tell you about a man no one paid attention to. Danny was not always a single father living in an old garage. When he was younger, he dreamed of becoming an aerospace engineer, just like Miguel. The two brothers used to sit on the roof of their house, watching airplanes take off from San Diego International Airport, sketching naive designs of jet engines and airplane wings. But when his wife, Elena, passed away after giving birth to Zoe, every plan fell apart. On the night of the funeral, Danny sat holding his newborn daughter, staring at his high school diploma and the acceptance letter from UC San Diego lying on the table. He knew he had to choose. He dropped out in his second year of college and returned to work at the small garage, once his father's workshop, before his father died of a heart attack when Danny was 18. Every afternoon, while Zoe napped, Danny opened old books on mechanics, not because he hoped to return to school, but because he believed that knowledge, even self-taught, even without a degree, could still change someone's life. He had no idea that belief would be tested so soon, and he never imagined that that someone would appear on an ordinary Thursday morning, pulling him into a journey he would never forget. Before we go any further, let me ask you, where in the world are you watching this story from? And if you believe that stories of kindness, everyday miracles, and ordinary people deserve to be shared even farther, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any journeys like this one. Because right after that question, a choice was made. And that choice changed 3 lives in ways none of them could have ever imagined. What did Daniel see that an entire medical system had overlooked? Daniel "Danny" Kowalski had spent nearly his entire life in the suburbs of San Diego, inside a small garage wedged between an aging industrial zone, where the smells of motor oil, hot metal, and salty ocean air blended together every single day. The concrete walls had cracked with time. The old scarred tools had passed through his hands for decades. Yet it was within this makeshift space that Danny's hands quietly created things many people would call miraculous. Customers trusted Danny not because he had prestigious diplomas hanging on the wall. They trusted him because he never lied, never overcharged, and never turned his back on people who were struggling. But there was one thing very few people knew. Danny carried a wound that had never truly healed. 12 years earlier, his younger brother, Miguel Kowalski, 22 years old, brilliant and full of promise, was in his final year of aerospace engineering at UC San Diego. Miguel loved the sky, loved motion, and especially loved the ocean. One weekend afternoon, he went scuba diving with friends at La Jolla Cove. The accident happened so fast no one could react. A violent collision with submerged rocks after diving too deep, and Miguel's spine was severely damaged. Danny still remembered the phone call from the hospital with painful clarity. The doctor's voice was cold, devoid of emotion. "Your brother will never walk again. A T6 spinal cord injury. Paralysis from the chest down." At that time, Danny was only 26 years old. He had just lost his wife to complications after giving birth to baby Zoe. Alone, carrying his newborn daughter, working 3 shifts a day, racing against hospital bills and mounting debt, Danny was already barely holding on. When the doctors proposed an experimental surgery that could give Miguel a chance to walk again, the cost reaching $350,000, Danny knocked on every door he could find. He borrowed money. He begged. He bowed his head. But it was not enough. It was never enough. Miguel was the first to say stop. He looked at his older brother and smiled, even though the pain was unmistakable in his eyes. "You still have Zoe to take care of. I'll be fine, brother. I'll be okay." That brave smile. Danny knew he would carry it with him for the rest of his life. 5 years later, Miguel passed away due to pulmonary complications. In the stark white hospital room, he gripped his brother's hand tightly, his breath broken and shallow. "Promise me, if you ever get the chance, help people like me. Don't let them lose hope, the way I once did." From that day on, every night after Zoe had fallen asleep, Danny returned to the garage. Not to fix cars, but to learn. Old books on biomechanics, YouTube videos on orthopedic engineering, medical device schematics he painstakingly gathered piece by piece. Danny had no medical degree, but he had the hands of a gifted mechanic, and a promise to a brother who was gone. That small garage slowly became a silent laboratory. Danny studied artificial joints, weight distribution, the mechanics of human movement, like a perfectly engineered machine, yet heartbreakingly fragile. His wife was gone. His brother was gone. And Danny lived with the guilt that he had not been strong enough to save either of them. But he never gave up hope. Because deep in his heart, Danny believed that one day, when the opportunity appeared, he would keep his promise to Miguel. And it was from that very promise, from those long, silent nights inside the old garage, that Danny's fate quietly began to turn in a different direction. Not far away, also along the edge of the Pacific Ocean, also carrying a wound that would never fully close, there lived another mother. One whose world stood in complete contrast to Danny's. Alexandra Lexi Donovan was not an ordinary mother. She was the CEO of BioNova Technologies, California's leading biotechnology corporation, a pioneer in gene therapy and regenerative medicine. Lexi's name appeared on Forbes, at TED Talks, and at dozens of international scientific conferences. She was the embodiment of success, intellect, and power. But all that prestige could not erase one fateful night 11 years earlier. It was an August evening at Pacific Beach. The sky was clear, the breeze gentle, the waves rolling rhythmically onto the shore. Sienna, then only 8 years old, was learning to surf, her small but radiant passion. Lexi sat on the sand, phone in hand, handling an urgent email related to a deal worth $200 million. "Mom, look at me!" Sienna's excited voice rang out from the ocean. Lexi waved back, but did not lift her head. "I see you, sweetheart. Be careful." But she did not truly see. She was typing an email. That evening, the waves were stronger than usual. A sudden, powerful wave crashed in, Sienna lost her balance and fell into the water. The surfboard slammed violently into her head. By the time the lifeguards pulled Sienna onto the shore, she was unconscious. Blood streamed from the wound on her head, mixing with the bitter salt water. Traumatic brain injury, cervical spinal cord damage, an emergency surgery lasting 14 hours. Sienna survived, but from the chest down, there was no sensation. Lexi never forgot the moment she sat beside the hospital bed, watching her tiny daughter wake up. Sienna tried to move her legs, and nothing happened. Fear filled the child's eyes as they searched for her mother. "Mom? Why can't I feel my legs?" And there was a question Sienna did not say out loud, but Lexi read it clearly in her daughter's eyes. "Where were you when I got hurt?" From that day on, Lexi did the only thing she knew how to do: use money to fight fate. Millions of dollars were spent. The world's top specialists, from Johns Hopkins, the Mayo Clinic, from Switzerland, from Japan, were brought in. 11 years passed, 11 surgeries, dozens of treatment programs, countless state-of-the-art orthopedic devices. But Sienna still could not walk. Her current brace, manufactured by OrthoCare Solutions, the world's leading orthopedic device company, cost $180,000. It was designed by a team of engineers from MIT, made from the lightest titanium alloy, and integrated with an AI sensor system that adjusted pressure according to body movement. On paper, it was a technological miracle, but in reality, every step Sienna took still hurt. She still wobbled. She still had to grit her teeth and endure the pain. Lexi knew her daughter was trying. Sienna never complained. She always smiled, always said, "I'm fine, Mom,"